Might stay. So what I'm hearing you say is Kimmy's going to win, probably,
He is
and
going to switch
stay.
his lead in the World Championship.
He's definitely going to stay in lead.
Yes, because, well, not necessarily. Max is right behind him.
Oh, I thought you said he was like sixth or
He
something.
was, but it's Max. Lewis is in third,
That's good.
considering he was complaining after Max passed him at the car. Montreal's always a good race.
Do you think he would have done? Do you think Lewis would have done better if he stayed with Mercedes this year? Because Mercedes is doing good.
Doing real good. Ferrari's doing good too. It's just they get in their own way.
Mm.
They make really dumb strategy calls all the time. They rely too much on the fact that they're Ferrari.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I just had some pistachio ice cream.
So
It's good. It's nice and soft. It's the texture just as much as the taste.
I'm just happy you got it.
Yeah.
You wanted it. You said you wanted it. You got it. Mission
Exactly.
accomplished.
Exactly. It did not take my back pain away. I think all this hotel, oh, it's gonna be so nice. I'm gone one more time. I just got home. I haven't even unpacked my suitcase, and I'm leaving again.
You're not gone one more time. You're gone this time, and then the following week you go back up to Edmonton.
Oh, shoot.
The only difference is you're not flying.
Oh, shoot. I forgot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you're in
Oh,
Canmore the week after that.
I forgot. I thought I had a nice stretch of being at home.
Till well into the summer.
And then we'll be at the cabin
Yeah.
where it's also not comfortable. My back just can't. Just all this traveling, my whole body is just blah. Not eating
It's
great.
crazy though. Like
No
for
wind.
someone that's only 24 years old to have this much back pain is crazy to me.
But my girls are coming with me this week. So you're going to be bacheloring it up.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think happens when I bachelor it up?
You do go golfing
Hmm.
and lunches
Hmm.
and have a grand old time.
I try to, yeah. I try to. Also, what else happens?
I don't
A
know.
lot of stuff around the house and taking care of the dogs happens. That's usually why it's interspersed with other stuff. But yeah, absolutely. Guilt-free trips out with the boys for sure.
Well, I don't know what the girls are going to do because I am working like
Oh,
the whole week.
by Wednesday, I'm going to have text messages about how bored they are
Yeah.
for sure. Like I'm just going to block them.
Well, Willow just thinks that it's just going to be grand to sit in the hotel all day and watch TV, but she's bored after 2 hours.
100%
And
sure.
Maya's going to be wanting to get up and out and
100%
go
sure.
in. So I don't know what they're going to do. Saturday is the only day that I'm going to have to spend with them because Maya has to work Sunday.
Hmm.
So I have one day I'm going to take them to the beach, which is an hour drive
Yeah.
from the hotel
Yeah.
or more. But it's going to be hot. It's going to be in the 30s,
Fantastic stuff.
which is what, like 90s Fahrenheit for American listeners?
Somewhere out there, yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, 40s puts you in the
I'm
real.
pulling that number out of my butt, just so you know, but it's pretty hot. I don't think it's quite 100. Well, here, I actually have my phone. Let me see. Yeah, it'll be hot. Anyway,
Well, that's what you get when you go somewhere tropical like Winnipeg.
I know. Yeah, 90 degrees.
Nailed it.
I did. That was pretty
That
good.
was pretty impressive. Pretty
That
impressive.
was really good. I'm proud of myself. So, should we jump in? Do we have more? I don't know.
Good. Let's do it.
Okay. Last week, I was talking. I started to. I was going to start this episode last week, but then we had our special guest who came in.
Yeah.
And it was all about, this disrespect towards parents. And not just parents. It's a culture of disrespect that we're seeing in, I would say, younger kids, but actually probably all of society.
Dude, a brawl broke out at kindergarten graduation last week in the States. A brawl of
What?
parents.
What happened?
There's an argument over the seating arrangements that devolved into parents punching each other and falling on the floor and beating like the whole graduation had to be canceled.
Oh my goodness.
Anyways, continue.
So, yeah, it's stuff like that. Like we are modeling disrespect. Kids are being disrespectful to us.
Our
Like,
children especially. Yeah, we've got two of the worst offenders ever.
Calling you old all the
all the time.
time.
One of them analyzed my beard the other day and how much more gray it is, not seeing the correlation between being a father and that.
Right. But yeah, towards teachers and like just like, well, and I had brought up the example of, 20 years ago, if kids asked permission for something and parents said no, kids would generally,
Yeah.
okay. And now kids don't even say yes or no. They just laugh as if they would even ask their parents permission.
Yeah.
Like it's just completely implausible that that would even, like, why would I even ask them? They're too stupid to know. And it's really interesting because I do want to talk, and I think this is going to have to be a series because there's several different areas. And a lot of it is around parental authority. There's been some role confusion, and we've sort of lost our parental authority.
Hmm.
And this is going to go across lots of different domains. So today I just want to like lay the foundation of this disrespect piece. But I guess maybe we can just start into like why do you think disrespect might be increasing? I've got some ideas. Some are embedded in research, but
My first take would be too much of a swing towards empathetic and gentle parenting and not enough accountability.
that's a huge piece for sure.
Yeah.
Just not knowing where their authority should lie, lots more negotiation,
Yeah.
right? There's no rules anymore. It's hey, how about we, how
Mhm.
do you think about this versus dude, you got to do this, right?
Well, and there was when we were growing up a primary difference, and I don't advocate to a huge degree what I'm about to say, but we grew up with a healthy dose of fear of our parents. There was that authority came through, and we were scared of what would happen should we break those rules. And I'm not saying scared in the way that we were going to be beat or we were going to be whatever, but there were consequences,
Yeah.
right? And if I did something dumb, my parents were irate. Like there was a genuine anger. However, that was disciplined or dealt with is irrelevant. It was I knew I had done something wrong based on their reaction.
Yeah.
And it never came out as disappointment. It came out as I might lose my life. Like I might and again, I'm not advocating that. I'm just saying there is very little of that perception of authority towards the parents. In our generation, it was more fear-based, 100%.
Well, I would disagree
Okay.
in that it's not fear-based for me, and I don't think that's what we should go for, but
I'm not saying it
that
should.
our opinion matters, right? That they don't want to be looked poorly upon by us.
Our kids these days?
No, these kids don't
Yeah,
care about what we think.
yeah,
No, no, that's the problem.
right.
So when I was a kid, I cared very much about looking good for like I wanted my parents to think of me in a good light.
Yeah, that was
That's what
absolutely
I
part.
mean.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was absolutely part of it. But I think there was
I didn't
also a
want to
mixture.
disappoint. Okay, so we had different experiences.
Sure.
For me, it really was, and that's what I mean by parental authority. Kids should worry more about our opinion of them than their peers, and they don't. It's all about peers' opinions,
Yeah.
but they really should, right?
Hmm.
But I do think like we've done this really well because I remember I'm not going to say which daughter, but one of my daughters told me something that she did.
Hmm.
She said it with me and her sister. Later on, her sister we debriefed, her sister and her sister told me that the original girl who told me, we'll say child A,
Yeah.
told me something. Child B was there when she heard. Child B later came and told me that child A was sick to her stomach because she was worried that I thought poorly of her
Right.
and regretted, like just was so, yeah. So knew, and you kind of said it too. I knew I did something wrong
Hmm.
immediately based on how
100%.
my parents react.
100%.
Whereas they don't care. Like a lot of kids just don't even care anymore, right? Or it's like, screw you. Well, I even just listened to a lot of Willow's friends who's like, okay, ground me, but
Hmm.
they still go and do whatever they're going to do anyways and sneak out. Like they don't care, right? And so, yeah, we did care about consequences or what we thought. And that piece is definitely
And
missing.
it's not even so much that is absolutely part of it, but the additional piece of there were consequences,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
we feared them because we knew they existed. And I'm agreeing with you because you're saying that they don't fear them because they don't exist. They truly don't exist. Like the amount of kids that have consequences, I'm not saying punishment, but consequences is minor,
Yeah.
right? What the most for the most part when you hear something, it's well, I gotta take their phone or their tablet away. But that goes away within a couple of hours because the parents just don't want to deal with it anymore.
And the other thing, I mean, the one thing I do want to say as well, it's, yeah, maybe the fear of the outcomes, but not fear of us.
Right.
That's really important. We cannot be, we're not, I'm not advocating for dictatorship
No, no, neither am I.
or any of that. And we can't have our kids scared of us.
No, because
Like,
then they won't come to us with other stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so knowing that we still love them, that we're very like supportive in that way, but yeah, that's a key piece. There was something else I was going to say in that, but I can't remember. But yeah, this and worrying, I think a lot of parents worry about, well, not just attachment, that they're worried that their kids aren't going to love them anymore. And
Mhm.
that kind of blinds us to we can't be our kids' best friend. And that's a problem that I think a lot of or a trap that a lot of parents fall into. But I'll say like our kids want to still spend time with us. They still love us, but we do have consequences. And they do, well, just this example now, they do really care about what we think.
Mhm.
And I would say we've set it up like they love going out and they love being with their friends, but they also love being with us.
Mhm.
And even this weekend, Willow had the opportunity to go hang out, even with her boyfriend and her friends. But she's like, I just want to be with you guys. And she, Saturday night, hung out with us.
Yeah.
She's with grandma today,
Gardening
gardening.
or child labor, as she calls it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like there are those things. But yes, that's one piece. And the negotiating. Everything becomes a negotiation. And we're giving all of these choices. And hey, how do you feel about bath now? Like,
Yeah.
dude, it's Matt Bath, right?
Yeah.
Like there's just certain things.
That sort of thing comes up though. Like we've talked about it before in terms of just the repeatability, like the the frameworks that you set up earlier, right? Like to use the bath example, if your kid knows that bath time is 8 o'clock every night, there's no need to negotiate
Yeah.
because it's 8 o'clock every night.
Yeah.
And it's a simple, no, no, it's 8 o'clock. You know it's 8 o'clock. Let's go.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is, right? Once you ingrain those, that doesn't go away, right? And
Totally.
and we ingrained a lot of that foundational stuff real early, right? Bedtimes, eating, chores, I don't think we did as great a job. That seems to be a bit all over the place, but it still happens. Like they
Mhm.
both know it's got to get done before they go off and do other stuff. They can make it quick and easy, or they can just make it painful on themselves and drag it out. But it doesn't matter to us. The hard rule is it has to be done before you go do stuff or by the end of Saturday because we're not doing anything on Sunday,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think with all of this, I mean, just not being sure how much authority they're allowed to have and what that looks like. And I will go over, I don't think today is going to be a day where we're going through the solutions. I
Mhm.
will be getting there. Maybe I'll throw in a couple for today just so that there's some takeaways. I will say non-negotiables, right? And I think we're good as parents in general when our kids are young. No, you hold my hand. When we cross the
Mhm.
street, you hold my
Yeah,
hand, right? We're really good at that's an example of a rule bound behavior. I said so. There's a safety issue here.
100%. Just like if someone offers you candy, get enough for dad. That's the rule, right? That's a non-negotiable.
So we really focus on though, and so somewhere along the way we lose that,
Yeah.
and we still need to have those non-negotiables. Screens for me is the big one. That's where we are really good. We are very strict, non-negotiable with screens, and that is the rule.
Mhm.
And these are the why. And as they get older, it's fine to state your reason, but it's not a question. It's not a negotiation. I think that's where we start losing the line a little bit, or we start getting into power struggles and fights where no, like this is the rule. This is why.
Yeah.
End of story. And then if they're asking and pushing back, we become a broken record. That's the rule. That's
Yeah.
the rule. That's the rule, or whatever that is. So, what were you going to say?
Just that we've got friends that are struggling with the phones, especially, right? Like
Yeah.
there's a couple friends that have reached out that are really struggling with the amount of time that their kids are on the phone and just the challenge they have, right? And this is the reap what you sow category, right? Like if it hasn't been a problem until now. You've been okay allowing it to happen for the past 10 years. Here you go,
Yeah.
right? Here you go. This is what happens.
Yeah. And I will be getting to that too.
Yeah.
So yeah, just that's part of it. We're over explaining, over negotiating, or trying to make every limit feel agreeable to children, right? Like that's it. The peer approval does become more important than parental approval, and that's a big piece where kids just don't care anymore. And because of that, like we are the ones, and I've said this in many episodes. I think early on we fall into this trap. I need to get my kids into preschool, into play groups because they need to learn to socialize. And that's what's happening even with our teenagers as they're getting older. They're being socialized by each other, but they're immature. They're not teaching each other good social
No.
skills and how to be good people. They're teaching each other all of these things, how to lie, how to disrespect, how to push the boundaries, how to say no, all of those
Mhm.
things. We are the ones. But from a very early, like, I don't know why or where parents get that idea. We need to put them into these things and get them on play dates so they can learn. But we are the main socializing engine. And that's been lost. Now, there was a time I was asking you just on a walk, like if you ever read that book, everything I learned in
Yeah.
kindergarten or whatever. There was a time where schools did teach socialization. It was primarily how to be a good kid,
Yeah.
and you did learn those rules in school. But in the mid 80s, things started, see, it's us Gen Xers. In the mid 80s, things started to shift towards academics, literacy, and numeracy. And we're seeing that more and more where the schools are like these. I mentioned it last week, right? Kindergartens who are like university prep
Yeah.
kindergartens, and they're not playing. I was actually just talking with I was doing an assessment with the kiddo the other day, and I was talking about recess, and the dad's like, no, they don't have recess in kindergarten. There's no recess in kindergarten. I'm like, what's going on in this world?
Yeah.
And so, but the problem is there's this, so they've stopped socializing kids to the same extent, assuming parents are going to pick up that responsibility. But there's other pieces that are undermining. So it's, yes, we are falling into these traps, but I don't want to put all the blame on parents because there is a bigger societal role.
Yeah.
Was there something else you were going to
Yeah.
say?
I was going to say, like, you got to also take into account that, like, kids are getting advice from their peers that is probably not the best advice. So are parents, right? The same traps of social media and all these other things is introducing it creates the fallacy of expertise because it's being presented to you, right? So these parents are hearing sometimes what they want to hear, things they've never heard of, thought of, and in it they'll act upon it, or at the very in another instance they'll judge their own actions by what they think others will judge them by, right?
Mhm.
Which that societal pressure modifies your behavior as well, right? You don't want to be seen as having the bad kid, so it's better just to kind of let it roll and nobody knows, or whatever it is. So you got to be careful about that too, right? The same external pressure that is being or guidance that is being put on kids is happening to parents, but parents are less aware of it or feel that they're probably less susceptible than their kids. All the focus for a lot of parents, I think, is on the impact of social media on their kids. What is happening to you, right? How many people do you come across that have massive followings online and zero credentials? They
Oh,
are
yeah.
they are not qualified to be doling out advice, but they have people tripping over themselves to listen to them and learn and implement what they're doing. That's naturally going to skew how you're interacting with your kids and to what degree.
Yeah,
Simple as that.
absolutely. And I see that all the time. So, yeah, the social media piece for both is
Yeah.
definitely a huge one. I guess just families just don't have as many cultural reinforcers around respect. And like this is something we are talking about too, even just television shows. So think back, you know, in the 50s and 60s and 70s and even the 80s, we had wholesome sort of family, like is it the Andy Griffith show and
Leave
Leave
it
It
to
to
Beaver.
Beaver and Family Ties. And there were good parents who were guiding their kids. They were good role models, right? Supporting kids. But now, like I used to watch Jessie on Disney.
Mhm.
There's no adults around. It's just kids leading kids. And they're usually smarter and wittier around these dumb, like they make adults look dumb
The whole
and
Nickelodeon
neglectful.
and Disney have made billions doing that.
Yeah. And there's two, I was reading about two different shows. I can't remember what they're called, but two different shows where the parents are actually psychologists
Mhm.
in two separate shows. One, the mom is a psychologist, another, the dad is a psychologist working with children. And yet there are these bumbling idiots who don't know anything about how to manage kids and kids' behaviors
Yeah.
or anything, and it's, well, even Family Ties. I mean, it was three dudes who didn't know how to parent, but they figured it out. There were,
Full House.
or what, oh, sorry,
Yeah.
Full House. Yeah, yeah, Full House. But they still had consequences and they still had that authority and they were still guiding the
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so,
Absolutely. And again, it's that external, like, people are easily led by what they see because they don't a lot of times question it. And I was joking around with you earlier about how people reject what they don't agree with or what is uncomfortable. So when they are presented with something that they probably should pay attention to and try and actually, dissect, understand, whatever, they won't, right? And that's where these shows or this social media or whatever, that's where it grabs a foothold,
yeah,
right? Like, you look at a show like Married with Children. When it came out, it was the absolute opposite,
yeah,
right? And it
yeah,
was, in some ways, it had some family value stuff, but for the most part, it was insult humor, it was negativity, it was Al being awful to Peggy and, Bud being awful to his sister. And that's always continued. Like, and it doesn't matter, you can find it in any show. And one of the easiest target is usually the dad, not usually the mom. The mom is usually portrayed as someone that has it all together but is really busy and really pressured. And the dad is usually the complete bumbling idiot. But all the kids are a different, specific, independent type personality, right? The really smart, introverted one, the the more sarcastic and independent one that kind of does their own thing, and then some other blend of whatever. Pretty much every sitcom has that now. And that's what people have been exposed to for decades now. So how would they know what a more conscientious citizen would look like? They
yeah,
just don't.
yeah. And it is our job. Like part of enculturation is learning the skills to be a valuable member of our culture,
Is
right?
enculturation a real word?
It is, yeah.
Because it sounds like Mary J. Blige's use of the word hateration.
No, yeah,
Okay. All right.
it's
Well,
definitely. So,
enculturation.
yeah. So, I mean, they're not born knowing how to be respectful and responsible and,
They learn it from watching.
we need to teach them explicitly.
Yeah.
And when I say explicitly, like we need to break down, there was a video of a teacher, grade 4, grade 5, something like that. These are smart kids who've been lining up for years, but had to explicitly teach them how to line up with both feet on the ground, be facing forward, hands at the side, mouths are closed,
Mhm.
not leaning, not turning around, not side by side, right? Like very explicitly.
There's a video that showed a dad of four boys, ranging probably from 8 to 14, let's say. And he was at a restaurant, and it was obvious he had worked this out with the server and the manager beforehand. But what he was doing was he was teaching the boys how to handle rude service without being rude. So what he was doing was basically he had, and it was, someone was filming it. The server was coming up and was just like would throw the stuff on the thing, and their orders were wrong, and he was saying stuff under his breath about them as he'd walk away. And so the father would pick one of the boys, like, okay, call him over and ask to talk to his manager and tell him why you want to talk to his manager. And as soon as the boy started to do it, the dad stopped him. He's like, no, you're being rude. Now you need to do it in a way that is, and he would correct them as they did it all the way through the whole process. And it was, again, it was obviously worked out like but it was a very interesting demonstration of how you can turn a negative interaction into a positive kind of back and forth that I don't know that I've seen anybody else do that, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
to that degree,
Yeah.
right? It's usually no, 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 don't say that. He was like, no, no, this is why we say it. This is how you do it. And he was saying things like, you don't know what this guy's day has been like,
Yeah.
right? So you getting mad at him isn't right, but you still need to address it. So how do you do that in a positive way? You ask to talk to the manager. You explain to the manager clearly what your issues are. Recognize that you don't want them to be in trouble, but this isn't the experience you were looking for. And the boys picked it up really quickly. Like they were having a conversation with an adult who probably could have been intimidating before. And yeah, it was interesting
That's
to see.
awesome.
Yeah.
You should send that to me because I think that that would be really valuable. So yeah, I mean, just everything's undermining from screens to
Yep.
entertainment, all of those things. So the issue is there's no adult-led structures anymore teaching the things that they need to learn. So around respect, manners, responsibility, self-control is a huge one, and I do want to talk about that if it's not today, sometime. Repairing, contributing to the family,
Yep.
limits around peers and screens. Like those are just a few. I kind of was making a list here. But yeah, and it is hard because parents are portrayed as irrelevant or absent
Yep.
or just whatever, like not as capable. So the roles of us, what we need to do is really the culture of the home and
Mhm.
of our culture and of being things. So I've got a list here. What do you think and this isn't like it was just things that I was thinking of that we actually should be teaching kids.
Well, I think it comes back again. This was a conversation we had a long, 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 long time ago. And I think we've brought it up before is at the very beginning, you need to understand what your framework is, what your values are, and what your non-negotiables are. You need to establish those early because they'll vary for every parent. But at a minimum, like for us, some of the things that have been important to us is, yeah, the method by which you communicate. We've put a lot of wording around or a lot of effort into trying to make sure that the proper wording is used, right? There's certain things that we won't tolerate in terms of how you speak. So we've tried to teach them how to communicate that way. Is this the sort of thing you're looking for?
Yeah, yeah, no, there's no right or wrong. Yeah.
Well, we've said that before and I've been wrong. So I want to make sure. There's that. There's the contribution to the family is one. Like we try and
Yeah.
really break up what needs to happen to make the house run and then age appropriate assign tasks to help that along. Like when they're kids, it's the whole cleanup song. That's easy, right? And it ingrains in them that they have to clean up behind themselves and keep the house tidy. As they get older, you can give them more specific stuff. Now we're at a point where we're able to get their contributions to be outside of the house. Like if you and I are busy or just tired or whatever, can one of you run and pick up your sister, or can you go to the store, or can and there's ways to change the contribution in a meaningful way that is age appropriate. So it's just kind of modifying that a little bit more. Yeah, to be kind of how they interact with each other, how they interact with their friends. We've had big conversations around, you know, understanding when it's appropriate to communicate in one way and when it's not, right?
Mhm.
Like our kids can be very quick and sometimes it can come across as a little biting. So it's learn when it's appropriate and not. Learn when it's the audience that would be okay with that,
Yeah.
right? And modify accordingly. Because I think one of the biggest things we've talked again about it before is language. We didn't really put a lot on the type of language. There was a few absolute no's, but for the most part, if a kid dropped an F bomb and it was our kid, whatever,
Yeah.
I do it all the time, right? But externally, people put that upon them as you can't say that, and our challenge was absolutely they can say it. They just have to understand that there's a consequence, and a lot of people just didn't like that, right? So it's again, it's just establishing where your lines are and then finding the opportunities to teach from there.
And that's a good example of one where I'm just like sometimes like it's not that deep,
Yeah.
right? Like
The kids love it when you say that, by the way.
we focus, I know, we focus on the most important things. And you know what? Swear words is just another word.
Yeah.
As long as it wasn't used vulgar, I
Oh,
can't
keep going. Keep
talk.
going.
Oh
I
my
can't wait.
gosh.
Vulgarly?
Yes,
Yeah.
towards us, to someone, right? And
Yeah.
putting someone down with that, that's okay. But if you're like, oh, fruitcake, like, that's totally fine. We've got bigger battles to fight at the end of
Yeah.
the day.
Yeah.
But I think that's a good one. And it's so funny because we were like, I would have to egg the girls on. Come on, I'll give you $2. I'll
Yep.
give you $5. Like, just say the F word. But
Yep.
they're like, no.
Yeah. Because other people told them that they couldn't.
But yeah. So, and really, like right now, I'm focusing on that respect piece
Hmm.
because we do need to be I even just think of Bambi, right? Treat others how you want to be treated,
Hmm.
And so that respect, and this is going to be a series because there's actual things that we really do, specific situations that we do need to put our foot down and make hard rules around. But this is just kind of the the culture piece, right? So how to speak to one another, how we handle frustration,
Hmm.
how we disagree respectfully. I was just talking about that today, actually, how, I love listening to Adam Grant and Brene Brown, not necessarily the content of what they're talking about, but they call each other out and
Yeah.
they'll say, I was really upset when you did this. And then the other person would take accountability and yeah, like this is where I was coming from and I see my mistake. And and then apologizing and
Yeah.
repairing that, or they challenge each other, and we don't have enough of that kind of stuff. How we contribute, what happens if we've hurt someone, what do we do? How do we manage disappointment and tolerating limits, right? All of those things. And we do see, a lot of this sort of disrespect from peer to peer, but even just shared moral language, there's a loss of that kind of stuff,
Hmm.
right? Like the Bambi
Yep.
example, love your neighbor, respect your elders, contribute because you're part of this family, right? I think that we're asking, yeah, too many questions, right? Rather than having clear rules. Like, how would you feel if this happened versus, dude, that
Yeah.
was not cool, right? You don't
Yeah.
talk to people that way,
100%.
and we're not very clear about it. And so I think that's really hard. So some of the specific rules, speaking respectfully, even if we are upset, not hitting or threatening or
Hmm.
mocking or those types of things, playing fairly, telling the truth, putting things back where they belong,
Yeah, kids never learned that.
clean up your own mess.
Did I tell you what our oldest daughter did
No,
in terms of putting things back where they belong?
no.
Months, months have gone by where I have been looking for my external DVD drive so I can use it with
Mm,
my computer.
mm.
Months. I've torn every part of the house I can think of apart. No, it doesn't exist. So the only conclusion I came to was I must have left it somewhere. That's unfortunate for me. I got a replacement.
Of course you did.
Yeah. Whose room did I find the original one in attached to her laptop so she could watch movies? Yep. Our oldest, our firstborn. And you know what her response was? Well, you should ask me. I'm like, bro, why would I need to ask you about my stuff? Why did you take it to begin with? Yep, she's been using it for months. Months. Anyways, so that was one we didn't do a good job with. We got to work on that.
That's so funny.
Oh, man.
Well, I do have things like rulers that go missing. Although my hair dryer, but I've laid down the law with my hair dryer. I rarely use it. So that's why she could take it
Yeah.
for like 6 months and I would never know. But when I do know it, but no, I laid the rule. You can use it in my bathroom,
Yeah.
right? Because every time she takes it out, oh, I forgot. I'm sorry. I'll grab it, right? But no, in my room, and she's been good ever since I've laid that rule down. And so that's a piece, being very explicit, being fair as well, having a logical sort of consequence or rule, right? It's not like, that's it, give me your phone
Yeah.
because you took my hair. No, like that doesn't make sense. But this is the rule. You can still use it. That's not the problem, but it needs to stay in this room,
Yeah.
right? In this bathroom. And being consistent. That consistency is really important because well, I mean, I've given the example of the speeding, the tickets, if you haven't heard it, right? Like if you've ever sped before and got a ticket, you probably still speed because you don't get a ticket every time you speed. But if you got a ticket every single time you sped 1 kilometer or 1 mile over the speed limit, you're going to stop speeding at some
Yeah.
point. So that's really important. So I think, we got to think about what are those, start with something, one rule. Don't make it a negotiation. Make it a rule. Be very clear and be very clear about what will happen if they follow it or if they don't follow it. And
Yeah.
that's going to be really important. We're not explaining until they agree. They're not going to like it. That's okay. They're going to storm off huffy and puffy. That's okay. They actually do want us to have boundaries, and their job is to push against those boundaries. Our job is to hold them firm, and that's actually going to create safety in our relationship and trust in themselves and trust in us because we are holding that line.
Yeah.
So that's going to be really important. Don't confuse compassion with permissiveness. And that's to your point. That was the very first thing that you said, right? We just, we don't want to hurt their feelings. Well, that's good emotion regulation, distress tolerance for them as well.
Yeah.
So that's really important. Another one, I didn't really get into this, but I find we're doing a lot of outsourcing behaviors, right? And I see this a lot in terms of even just diagnoses. I can't tell you how many families, I've been gone most of this week, but the families that I have talked to, some of them, I won't say all, but some of them, it's just like something's wrong with my kid. And it's because they're not laying down their authority
Yeah.
in a helpful, healthy way,
Yeah.
right? They're either, a lot of the families I'm working with are too dictatory with very unrealistic expectations. Their kids aren't allowed to do anything. So of course they're looking for something, especially as they get into teenage years. They need to have fun. They need to, be able to experiment and do things. So they're cutting off from everything. They're going to get themselves into trouble or just so permissive, right? And so, but now the behaviors are getting, they don't know what to do because they've laid down the law or been so flexible
Yeah.
that now that they think there's a psychiatric problem and
Yeah.
now I need to medicalize my child's behaviors.
And in some situations there probably is, but it's not at the person they think it is.
Right. Yeah.
Like that,
So,
and that's, you and I have talked about it before, and this is a cautionary thing, that if your only predictability for your kids is that you're going to overreact and lay the law down, what you're doing is you're giving yourself an early out from having to parent them as they get older, because they're not going to come to you. And
yeah.
as soon as they get a chance, they are going to distance themselves from you. And you're going to be that obligation they have to talk to or go home and see on the holidays, and they're going to hate every minute of it.
Yeah.
So if that's where you're hoping to get to, keep going.
Yeah. But it is scary because I have so many kids, even from a young age, who are on antipsychotic medication, right? And so before you do that, maybe there is, but always look, what skill are you teaching? What limit needs to be in place? What structure needs to be placed,
Yeah.
right? There's probably something missing. Start there.
Yeah.
Is it a skill, a limit, a structure? We just want to enforce that. But this is going to be bigger because there are specific things that we need to lay the law down, some of those non-negotiables that I want to talk about. And then other things, like it doesn't have to be all about, like I do want to talk about just having fun. That's part of being an authoritarian parent
Yeah.
is having fun. There's a reason why our girls love hanging out with us because even today before Willow went to grandma's, we were playing games this morning, before she went to grandma's. So just having those touch points. I think we can still do better on the fun front, but generally our kids like hanging out with us. I even just asked Maya yesterday, do you like hanging out with us? And she's like, yeah,
Yeah.
even just to sit and chat. This afternoon I was pruning some flowers. She didn't stay out there very long because it's super hot and she doesn't like the heat, but she came out just to chill while I was doing that, right? So
Yeah.
anyways, that's what we want to get to. Maybe that's where you start though, is just having more fun. If you can't have fun with your kids, they're not going to want to hang out with you anyway.
Totally.
But we'll
Absolutely.
come to that too. All right.
Good
Good
day.
day.